time passed, I realized I wanted to know more details. And then at a certain point in my life, I was working in a library before the internet even existed. And so I just constantly was compiling things, and I've been blessed with a really good memory. And so as time passed, fast forward to the days when I worked at KTVU Television, people would call in and say, is the I Love Lucy episode where she, was on the conveyor belt with the candies coming up soon? And I knew where it was.
Right.
So they would refer those things to me. And as time passed, I kind of got to be known as the guy that had certain answers. And that's basically, I don't know when I was dubbed the Hollywood historian, but it just sort of happened.
So when did you start? I have to look at the camera actually. When did you actually start? When you wanted your first item that you got, and you said, you know what, I'm going to continue to collect. And where was that passion come from?
Well, gosh, I have to go way, way back. I think
You're not that old. You can't go that okay?
Oh, I'm older than I look. Well, back in the 1980s, I had befriended a guy named Wayne Martin who knew Judy Garland personally. And he used to go to her CBS show every week. And I attended something at Crissy Field called the Freedom Train. And it was the Smithsonian that was traveling throughout the U.S., and every train car had a different theme. Well, I saw Judy Garland's Wizard of Oz dress. I'm like, oh my God. Well, I just kind of went, wow. And in the back of the program, Wayne Martin's name was there, and it said Burbank, California. So I was pretty young. I was about 15 or 16 myself, I guess. And I wrote to the guy, and I was curious, and we developed a friendship, and one thing led to another, and ultimately he arranged so I could purchase that item.
Wow.
And that was in the 80s. That would be what I call my first major acquisition.
Well, that's a major one. I mean, that's
okay.
That's major.
All right. Well, back when I was about 13 years old and visiting Hollywood with my parents, I kind of lived vicariously through I Love Lucy episodes. And I had to go to the Brown Derby and order spaghetti like Lucy had. That day I rang Lucille Ball's doorbell, Milton Berle's, and Doris Day's. And
so you just went up and you just rang the doorbell.
Yeah, and I've got home movies of it, and my parents somehow let me do that. I don't think parents would do that now, and they'd have guards and cameras on you. But in this situation, I remember thumbing through the Hollywood telephone directory, and I found Mae West's phone number and address. So, I went to a phone booth for 15 cents, and I called Mae West. So subsequently, I wrote her a letter, and I would say at age 12 or so, my first major item was a signed photo by Mae West, signed to Barry, Sin hyphen, Sirley. Mae West.
Sin, right?
Yeah, and at that time, I had very little money. I didn't even have an allowance, but I was given money for milk every day at school, 5 cents, and I would forego having my milk 3 days a week. Didn't tell anybody, so I took those 3 times 5 is 15. I would buy TV Guide magazines because that's how much they cost. And my friend Mike Baba and I would go to I forget the name of the market, but it was right near our junior high school, Bret Hart, and it became our routine to go and buy our TV guides. And anyway, I don't know, one thing just sort of led to another. And the fact that my dad's first cousin was Mike Connors, the actor who played Mannix. There was that, like, oh my God, my cousin's a TV star. And, I'm still close with his daughter, and sadly we lost him, but I always had that kind of an interest in Hollywood, and it excited me. It was my passion. And I think that's what everybody needs in life, find that passion.
Yeah. So Barry, you brought out a lot of things today. So let's take a look at some of the things and the stories behind it, because that's the thing is like when you're a collector, there's a story behind everything. So
are you sure you have time?
We'll try to make it in. If anyone has any questions, please send them on in, because we love to interact and correspond with you. And so look.
Well, I'm going to show you this. In 1986, I worked on a project, and I met Lucille Ball.
Right.
And this is her handbag, okay? And she's holding it in this photograph, okay? There it is, right over here. My fingers crossing. But I obtained it from the Historical Society in New York, where she grew up, because the family had an auction at a certain point. So you can't get any better than that when the family sends things off to an auction facility, and it came directly from them. You can't, there's no question about its authenticity. But the funny part is, if you open it up, inside is her toothpick with her lipstick still on it. They call them dental spacers, and it's just the right shade of pink. In fact, I once had somebody said, you have her DNA on there. We could clone her, okay? Here's something else of interest. This is Cary Grant's bow tie, and those of you who know me, sometimes I wear it, and he wore it the night that he got his Academy Award. He had gotten a special Academy Award, I believe it was 1969 or 70, and I obtained it because I visited a friend of mine at the Motion Picture Home in Calabasas, and there was a shop there called The Closed Estate, and I walked in and they had all these things belonging to Cary Grant and other people on it, and I grabbed that. But I didn't know at the time that he wore it when he accepted his Academy Award.
Oh, wow.
So that makes it
So
really
that's an even more surprise when you buy something and you find out, whoa, this is a bonus. He actually wore the Academy Award.
Yeah, and then also, because I have that kind of a curious mind, I looked for it. Some people may have shrugged it off, but I looked for it.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to start with my mother. I'll tell you what. My mother inspired me. My mom grew up in the 1940s and got married in the 50s. And when I was a kid, she would show me these things, because first of all, there were no kids in the neighborhood. My brother was in school. And she would show me these things that I still have in memory of my mom. And it fascinated me because of the color and the design elements. And I didn't know how visual I really was. But I thought, I've got to bring these because she inspired me.
Oh, that's
okay?
Nice. Yeah.
And that's a good thing. So that led to my getting, this is Jane Withers, thanks to my friend Rick Carl. And this one is Lana Turner's.
Oh, nice.
And I wish we could have a close-up, but I can show you. Lana Turner had a tendency to want to make sure nobody took her things. Maybe if I get really close, you can see it. You can see it, Lana Turner. Well, I guess she had some.
Well, those two are beautiful colors. It's like Christmas colors. We could put them on the tree.
Well, we could. Well, Christmas colors. I think you can see this item here. This is a gown that belonged to Shirley Temple Black. Get a little closer. And talk about Christmas colors. It's it's a long story. Thanks to her son Charlie Black, who put me in touch with the Palo Alto Junior League, I was able to get this item and others.
Wow,
and
beautiful.
Isn't it amazing?
Well, it's heavy too.
Yeah. And the nice thing was, about 20 years ago, I became friends with Shirley Temple Black.
Right.
And over the years, we stayed in touch. And I just got to tell you, she was a wonderful lady and the brightest adult following the brightest childhood. And she had become, the first female chief of protocol at the White House and ambassador to Ghana and Czechoslovakia. She's just an amazing person with
And
amazing.
she lived in the Bay Area.
Yes, she lived in Woodside, and I know her children, and they're just a wonderful family. So
nice.
I'm
It's beautiful.
Isn't it gorgeous? It seemed like it would be appropriate for Christmas time. This is Judy Garland's handbag.
Wow, Judy Garland.
Judy Garland's, yeah. And what I like about this is when you open it, it's so highly polished that it appears like a mirror. It's metal. How's your hair? Your hair looks good.
It's fine.
Isn't that fun? I think it's clever. So this is definitely 1940s. And speaking of Shirley Temple Black, this was Shirley Temple's handbag. In fact, I have a picture of her wearing it at an Motion Picture Arts and Sciences event. I remember, hey Leslie, if you're watching, remember when you were my date that night? And Shirley Temple Black was using that purse, and I have pictures, which is cool.
Wow.
So I'm going to fast forward to the future. Someone who's still with us. This is Charlize Theron's handbag, and I obtained it at a silent auction. I practically had to wrestle somebody to the ground. Remember, Linda, what happened?
It happens, right?
It does. Well, this lady,
especially silent auctions.
she grabbed it, and I said, no. I said, I'm still bidding, and then I won the bid. But what's cool about it is she autographed it.
Wow.
So you know that's the kind of stuff when you've got a photo of someone with a star. That's what makes it special. Or you knew the star. Like for instance, I knew Debbie Reynolds, and Debbie Reynolds was involved with the Thalians Ball. These are only like a size 5.5. They look huge because of the
They look pretty tiny. Let me tell you.
well, but see here, but what's neat about it is she signed the souls. So you can't get any better than, having the star sign the item, because some people might say, oh, well, how do you know? Well, I was there. I was there with her when I got them. As was I with Phyllis Diller at her home a number of times. And again, thanks to my good friend Rick Carl, who invited me. And Phyllis Diller used to have these art shows. And at a certain point, she was selling off things that were in her wig room or costume room. And I obtained this hat. I mean, come on, that screams Phyllis Diller. And this is from Phyllis Diller. Now, the interesting connection with Phyllis Diller is we were both born on July 17th. And I got it fits here. Well, that's what she would have said. And on my birthday, I was in LA and I went to her house on Rockingham, which, by the way, has been demolished. It's no longer there. But I said to myself, they say, be careful what you wish for. I said, someday I'm going to go to that house. Because I knew it was on my birthday and that day was her birthday. And so it's kind of amazing what we wish for. And later on we realized, wow, that came to fruition. It's just like I remember having a dream about little Shirley Temple being my friend. And then years later, the last, 17 years of her life, we were friends. And I told her about that one day, and she said, BB, that was her nickname for me. Because she said, you need a nickname with a name like yours. And Bridget Bardot doesn't use it anymore. So she said, BB, life is funny that way. Sometimes the things that we wanted early on, they come back to us. And I was just, it's very heartwarming to know that we became friends. Right. And she was just a delightful person. So getting back to Phyllis Diller, at a certain point, I obtained different gowns and so forth. But this is a pair of her gloves. And at the time, I obtained her cigarette holder.
She always seems to have that cigarette.
Yeah, and this is her handbag with a cute little angel on it. She turned, that particular day I was at her house, it was by special arrangement, and she was in another room and she wasn't made up. And so I heard her tell Carla, her assistant, who is that out there? And she said, oh, it's Barry Barsamian, from the Bay Area. Well, Phyllis Diller was originally from the Bay Area as well. She got her start at the Purple Onion and somewhere else too. But I heard her say, oh, it's that nice Barry Barsamian, what's he getting? And Carla said, the cigarette holder. Whoops, there goes oops, sorry, Phyllis. I don't think she really smoked, actually. But I heard her say, oh, Carla, go in that middle drawer there. That's where my gloves are, and I want you to find a really nice pair of white gloves and just give those to me. So that's the story behind that, and you're absolutely correct. There's a story behind everything, including.
Well, you talked a little bit about TV Guide. I see a TV Guide.
Well, here's it.
Collective.
Yeah.
Now, is this one you had as a kid, or was it something you acquired?
This is one that I had, but I had Bob Hope sign it. If you can see the signature. And in later years, I became very close with Jane Russell, who stayed at my house, and Jane and Bob were great friends because of the movies they had made together. And so she always had some nice, I didn't personally meet him, but she always had nice things to say about Bob Hope.
Now, also, Barry, I understand that you were going to be lecturing on a cruise coming up, hopefully, right?
Yeah.
It got postponed last year. Well, this year, I should say.
Yeah. It's through Amadeus Cruises. It's a cruise of the Danube River, and I have a cruise partner, Georgia Bali, the Connection to Cruise, and I can give you that information if you write to me as a private message. I'd be happy to give it to you. But originally, yes, it was going. It's going to cruise down the Danube, June of this year, but for obvious reasons, it had to be postponed. But we have a date. It's going to be 8 days, beginning with Memorial Day weekend of 2021, which is May 23rd. So I hope you can come. It's a really great deal. It's like less than $2,500 a person. You just can't get a cruise like that. It begins in Budapest, Hungary, and then it goes up through Slovakia, Austria, and ends up in Germany. And there will be side trips because you'll just be following the Danube River.
So you'll be doing lectures that?
Yes, I'm going
night, or
there's just going to be a few of them. I'm going to talk about my friendship specifically with Shirley Temple Black, and I'm going to bring her Heidi dress. I have her dress that she wore in the movie Heidi from 1937 in the Christmas scene. How appropriate.
Yeah.
It's Christmas time when she sings Silent Night. And you wouldn't know it because it's a black and white movie, but it's blue velvet. It's when she teaches the little girl who can't walk to walk, basically. And it's Christmas Eve, and it's this very touching moment, and somehow I was able to get that. And then also I'm going to talk about my friendship with Jane Russell, who's an amazing person, and you probably all remember her from The Outlaw that was produced and directed by Howard Hughes.
Which the movie was outlawed for a while. They actually censored it.
Well, yeah, because she says, can you believe it? She says, there was a little piece of cleavage showing, and she says, Barry, now they're showing cleavage in the back. Like, what was the problem? But and then later she was the star of Gentlemen Prefer Blondes opposite Marilyn Monroe at a time when Marilyn was not a huge superstar. And she had lovely, nice things to say about her friendship with Marilyn. And I have a warm place in my heart for them. And I'm writing a book.
Yeah.
You just finished it.
Yeah, I just finished the book. So I know how difficult that is. It takes a long time. So tell us about your book.
Well, my book has been in the works for probably about 30 years. The night after I met Lucille Ball, I wanted to kind of create my own little diary of remembrances. And so that's exactly what I did. And then I thought, well, I want to do that with other people like Shirley Temple and June Lockhart and Margaret O'Brien and my cousin Mike Connors.
Right.
It makes sense to do all of that because I wanted to just remember. It wasn't because I wanted to write a book. Then all of a sudden people would say, you ought to write a book. And I thought, well, I have the beginnings of it. And I have finished the chapters on Joan Fontaine, Shirley Temple Black. I once flew on an airplane with the Kennedy family right after the president had passed. It's a weird feeling to know I was on the airplane with John Kennedy, and then what happened with him later on many years. But yeah, I don't know. Again, it comes back to following my passion. Just like when I was a little boy, one of the things I did in the morning was to get up and turn on CBS and watch I Love Lucy and Pete and Gladys, and then Captain Kangaroo would come on. And I was enthralled with that show and what it was all about and all the many facets. So I have something else I want to show you.
Take a look at it.
I don't know, Derek.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
Do you recognize this?
Captain Kangaroo's jacket. Can I try it on?
Absolutely. I'm sure it's going to be
Captain Kangaroo always seemed like he was big, so I want to see what it looks like. All right, let's see.
You're a slender guy.
I don't think so.
Oh, hey,
pretty good.
It's a good fit.
Should I become the captain, the new captain, maybe? This is very nice, actually.
It is pretty nice. It fits you better than it fits me, actually.
Well, the funny thing is sometimes you don't realize how small the actors are. Okay, and I have some wardrobes also, as you know, and I have Dom DeLuise's jacket from Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. And the first time I got it, and I wore it at an event, and I was like, oh my God, am I the same size as Dom DeLuise?
Well, he was short. That's why it fits.
But it's kind of big on me. But this one's a little better, I
Yeah,
What do you
I
think,
think you
people?
look pretty good with the black and the.
Yeah.
Hey, we didn't even
Well,
play.
what about your jacket? It's got to be a special jacket there.
Well, this is Bob Hope's jacket,
Okay.
and it says it's interesting. What does it say?
Swing at cancer.
At cancer.
Swing at cancer.
Yeah, in fact, what's interesting is he was part of a tournament with Bing Crosby, and when I acquired this some time ago, I was happy to get that. And in fact, right now I know a lot of people who are battling cancer,
Right.
and they're winning, and so this is
Oh,
also
that's
for
nice.
them.
Yeah.
And one other thing I want to mention is we have a mutual friend in Kathy Garver.
Right.
For a number of years, Kathy and I did a show together called Backstage with Barry and Kathy, a television show that we might be reprising. And that's another situation where, as a kid, we're not that far off in age, she and I, but I would watch her on Family Affair, and I remember thinking, I really like her. I'd like her to be my friend. And then ultimately, we met on the set of Princess Diaries. The friendship began, and that friendship has been going for about 20 years. And incidentally, she is the other guest on the Amadeus cruise.
Right.
So
nice.
if you come and enjoy, you'll get to meet me and hear about what I've got to say, and meet Kathy Garver and hear what she has to say. It's a 2-for-1. How's that?
And actually, Barry mentioned his show, and it can be seen on ZPTV, a Roku channel. So if you have Roku, search on ZPTV Direct, and then you can watch their great interviews. And actually, that's with Jane Russell. It's a great episode.
It's a tie-in, and of course, and ZPTV is Zemrak Herkel, by the way, and it's marvelous. And you go to your Roku app on your phone and on a phone, probably on your phone too. Yeah, and on your TV, and then you can watch the whole show. You can pause it. You'll see how young I was 10 years ago.
We all were younger. So Barry, thank you so much for coming in, and you may, a couple more things. Okay. Show must go on. Okay.
Hold on. Those belong to Marilyn Monroe.
Ooh. Wow.
She was about a size 6.5.
Very
I
tiny
think.
shoe.
Yeah. And then this handbag belonged to Kim Novak, who I've met a number of times. What a nice lady she is. And oh my gosh, I think we talked about everything.
Well, that's great. So Marilyn, do you know what period she would have?
This would have been in the late 50s.
Oh wow.
This style. Oh, and I'm going to say one thing. I don't need to keep everything. And if anybody's interested in this, because I'm getting up there. I don't need all this stuff. I'm thinking about selling this, and I'll give a percentage to the Orinda Theater. How's that?
Cool. That's
Okay.
Nice.
And
Phyllis Diller's
Phyllis Diller's hat, which by the way is kind of cool because look at on the inside, whoever made it, their signature is like a flower with a rhinestone. Do you see that? Yeah.
So, I don't know. What do you think? Phyllis Diller? Phyllis Diller, maybe?
Maybe, I don't know. But, gosh.
So Barry, thank you. We could keep talking all day. It's been great. Thank you all for tuning in. If you have any questions, just throw them out there right now. But you may recognize Barry because Barry's sometimes behind the counter at the Orinda Theater, and you started working at the Orinda
October of last year.
Okay.
And I'm one of the many managers, and we have a great group here, and the best popcorn in the world, aside from the best staff and the best bosses. And I've got to tell you, I've never had. I'll say he's my boss. He's like, you're my friend. Like, what's going on? Really, the nicest circumstance in a work situation that anybody could ever ask.
Thank you, Barry.
But see, this is my passion. It's your passion, right?
Yeah.
So,
and that's what it takes, especially through these difficult times, is people have to have passions and believe in what they're doing and keep things alive. And that's what we're doing with the Orinda Theater and with all the help of you people out there in this wonderful community. So many different theaters have contacted me all across the country and said, how did you do that GoFundMe campaign? And I'm like going, I just put it out there. I didn't know what I was doing. I just did. But that's the difference between the Orinda Theater and the Orinda Theater community in the La Miranda area, who's so supportive and love the theater. Okay. And I had said early on, way back when I did an interview for a Palm Springs TV station, this was back in May, and I had said, you know what? I think this is the first time in many years in history that movie theaters that independently owned and art houses have a better chance to survive because of the passion that people have for the theaters. Because the younger generations have no connection to theaters in general. I'm speaking. They like to watch them on their iPads or their phones, so they've lost that connection with a movie theater, and it really truly shows you that the support of the Orinda Theater. So,
And you'll be celebrating next year.
this year,
Well,
No,
41,
yeah,
so
yeah.
2021,
Yeah.
it'll be 80 years.
80 years
And
old.
so there are people that come in and they'll say, when I was a little boy or a little girl, I used to come here, and they have this, heart for the
Right.
theater, which is nice. And by the way, we're all in the same bubble. Just
Yeah.
so you know. We've been in the same bubble all this time.
So thank you so much, everyone. Remember, tomorrow at 1:30, we're going in to see The Crying Room and the Wings of the Theater. So we hope you can join us, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. See you later.
Bye.
Somebody that just